Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the A&P Christmas special. I actually don't do many Christmas specials, I realize. I do a lot more Halloween specials. That seems to be more of the tradition here on A&P. And kind of just really wanted to do one this year just because I love Christmas more than a lot of people know. I think Christmas is literally the most wonderful time of the year if it wasn't for the fact that everyone's getting sick and the suicide rates go up. Lots of fun. Lots and lots and lots of fun. Joining me is a guest that I usually don't have on this channel, but I think he's going to become a little bit more of a mainstay as we go along because, well, we get along. Joining me is my good friend John Selecchia. John Selecchia, why don't you say hi to the world, introduce yourself, who you are.
Oh, hi, my name is John Selecchia. I am a friend of Adam, and also, we went to college together and all that. If you don't know about Swedish Meatballs, then you probably don't know who I am, which go watch Swedish Meatballs right now, but I also make my own movies and cartoons, and sometimes I'll do stuff with Troma. So if you're into any of that, then go follow me, I guess.
Well, I gotta say, that shit with Troma is pretty fucking cool. You were gone for quite a while. You were working on one of their new films, I guess. Was that right?
Yes, I was. So I was in the prop department for 6 weeks in upstate New York, living in the barracks of this haunted mansion technically, but there's like a summer camp there, and we were staying in the camp. And we were just pretty much working on the movie for about 6 weeks, which was a very interesting experience to say the least.
6 fucking weeks.
Yeah, 6 weeks.
On a Troma set? I don't know how I'd feel about that, John.
Well, what do you mean?
I think I would be both terrified, scared, sketched, but also having fun.
Yeah, that honestly checks out. Checks out. When you get sick from COVID halfway through production, you have to stay in one of the haunted rooms. It's fun. It's a wonderful experience. I remember me and I think one of the camera guys got sick, so we were just talking about Godzilla versus Space Godzilla for 5 days in a row, which was a lot of fun.
As you do.
Yes, of course.
As you do. Yeah, because Space Godzilla is the best of the Godzilla movies. No, it's not. I actually, having rewatched the entire Heisei era, Godzilla versus Biollante is the one that Biollante versus Space Godzilla is the one that genuinely shocked me the most, because I was expecting to go in and be like, this is going to be the weakest of the Heisei era, and I don't think it is. I actually really was shocked by how much I actually enjoyed this movie, particularly the final act. And the big reason why, I think, is just because our humans weren't just standing around watching the monsters fight.
Right.
They were actually participating in shit and trying to do stuff while the monsters were fighting. And I was like, you know what? That I give the movie props just for that. When that was a problem that plagued Heisei era Godzilla.
Yeah, because my whole thing with the Heisei, I know there's gonna be a hot take. And I know there might be some Godzilla fans watching. I know this is going to ruffle some feathers, but I don't care.
All right.
I don't think Biollante is as good as people make it out to be.
It's a weird one. I won't deny that it's a weird movie.
It's not even that it's a weird movie. It's just Biollante is such a cool concept, and they just have nothing to do with it throughout the entire movie. I think they put more focus on Godzilla in that movie than Biollante, and I don't like that. I'm just like, why can't we just focus on this whole plot? And then it's just them fighting Godzilla for 10 minutes. Biollante comes and end the movie, and I'm like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it is a weird movie. I'll give you that. I personally love the fuck out of it. I think it's one of my favorites because of how different it is from a lot of the other Godzilla films, and it was done purposefully so that way. But I get why people don't like it. I get why it's outside of the Godzilla community in the United States is considered one of the worst. But ironically, in Japan, it was voted the best, beating the original Godzilla. People voted Biollante as the best Godzilla movie ever made. Granted, that was before Shin Godzilla and -1 came out. I'm pretty sure that figure would change since those two movies came out, but I found the results very interesting. Well, John, it's fucking it's December. You know what that means?
It's fucking Christmas.
It's fucking Christmas. I already kind of went into a brief little spiel about how much I love Christmas. It's been a little difficult this year because I didn't get to go home for Thanksgiving this year, and I'm not going to be able to go home for Christmas this year either. So that's been a little difficult, but at the same time, I've got my lights up. I've got my Christmas tree set up right beside me. It's just a little thing, but it's my favorite. And I love this time of the year. I love winter in general. I love the snow on the ground. We finally got our first snow today. That actually accumulated. And that made me very happy. I was literally just, after I got home from work, after working the night shift, I just fucking had that door behind me. I had the door open, or the window, the shade open, and I was just sitting there drinking some hot cocoa, watching some horrible fucking romance movie I just randomly put on fucking Amazon because I got a Fire TV, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I really am. I've turned into the stereotypical old gay guy. In this moment,
proud of you, Adam.
Yeah. It's like okay, I'm here for those. But I get really sentimental around this time of year, as well. It's not like Halloween, where Halloween I'm like, yeah, horror movies, and I go kind of nuts with those. This is a much more personal holiday for a lot of people. It's a lot more sentimental. And excuse me, I'm recovering from being pretty goddamn sick. We're both sick, I guess, if I heard that right.
Yes, yeah. You did.
Yeah. At least it's not COVID. I was so fucking scared that when I caught this, I was like, I've got COVID and I'm gonna die. And nope, I was just fine.
Yeah, no, thank God. This would have been my second time getting COVID this year in like the span of like 4 months. So.
The fucking second time? Oh man.
I know, it would have been.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
no, this was I was at work, right? And in the middle of my shift, suddenly I hear one of the fans on the back of one of the big computers start going, making this horrible noise. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, fuck, I know exactly what this is. I know exactly what the problem is. It's just not getting enough air. There's so much dust and shit behind it. Because I've heard it. It's happened on my computer before. Except this is bigger. And so I go back there, I take off the back, and, I'm putting the air to it and everything like that, cleaning it off as best as I can. But then I evidently breathed in dust that I shouldn't have breathed in, because I suddenly was like, my chest tightened like mad, my lungs, and I had an asthma attack for like the first time in 2-3 years.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, thank God I just happened to have my inhaler in my backpack. That I always have. But then that triggered, because every time that happens, it always ends up triggering a bit of a bronchitis thing with me.
Yeah.
And which sometimes can lead, the worry is that it could develop into pneumonia if I don't take care of it. And so I've been dealing with that, and it's been awful. It's been nothing but coughing and hacking. I was coughing so hard, it's gone now, but like on my temple, I had a bruise because I was coughing so fucking hard. And I'm like, this sucks, John. This sucks.
Keep your battle wounds. You could be like, I survived the Great Cough in 2024.
The Great Coughing. I survived the Great Dust War. I wonder if the veterans of the Great Emu War in Australia got compensation as veterans or not. I'm pretty sure most of them died in World War II, actually.
Oh. God. I mean, that would be like... Wait, I just lost my train of thought. Well, never mind. It'll come eventually.
All right. It's all right. It's Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So, like... What do you think about Christmas, John?
What do I think about?
What do you think about this time of the year?
God. I feel like as I got older, I appreciate it more than I did when I was younger. You know, when you're younger, just like, oh my God, Santa Claus, he's gonna come give me toys and all that stuff. But I feel like as you really get older and you start really connecting more with your family, you understand it more for what it actually means. And I appreciate that. Especially that, like, my parents are getting older. My grandpa's still here. He's 97, God bless. So, just the time you be around family
Yeah.
is something that really means a lot to me.
Well, I think that whole idea of family is something that really sets Christmas apart from even Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And like, regardless if you believe in the religious stuff or not, the idea of Christmas being just spending time with your family, giving presents to one another is a way of expressing thanks to one another and appreciation for one another.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very beautiful holiday. I mean, there's a reason why it's such a big deal in Japan, despite the fact that almost none of them are Christian. Actually, it's kind of funny. I think they understand Christmas almost more than we do over here. Maybe for that very reason.
Maybe Jesus was Japanese.
Maybe, you know what? I think Jesus was Japanese. Yeah.
I would like to think that he just the entire time it's just Kamen Rider.
Jesus is Kamen Rider. It turns out that the Bible was horribly wrong. It had nothing to do with the Roman Empire. It had everything to do with the Mongol Empire. And it was just they just got their geography way wrong, is what happened.
They tried. They were like, there's sand. It's close enough.
It's, okay. Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the same thing. I mean, I go to Arizona all the time. Like, oh, am I in Egypt? No, I'm in Arizona.
Well, no, that's the Mormons. The Mormons are the ones that believe that Jesus came from Arizona. Rose from the desert, I think.
Oh.
That's actually not at all what the Mormons believe. But for some reason, the Mormons believe that Jesus came over here to the United States at some point, which makes him an immigrant.
Good for him.
He better have come here legally. That's all I'm saying. Off to a great fucking start.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah, happy fucking holidays, motherfucker. I feel like we just had Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving fucking was so late this year that, like, usually I'm like, there's usually like a week off before we get into December, and December is where Christmas really gets going. There was not that week this year. And so it was pretty much Thanksgiving's done, Christmas lights up, Christmas tree lights, decorations up, boom, we're good to go. We're hitting the ground running today.
Yeah, I feel like ever since even since October, everything just blended together. Like, this is still the same month as like October 5th.
I've really felt since September because of bear season for me. These last few months have just rushed by, and which is funny because I thought the rest of the year had gone by so fucking slow. And suddenly it's like a mad dash to the grand finale that is Christmas. But I've always had a few Christmas traditions growing up. I don't know if there were so much traditions as much as they were memories that like kind of really resonate with me, and I don't get nostalgia that much. Like, if I watch something that I watched as a child and I still like it to this day, believe it or not, usually it's not the nostalgia I'm feeling. It's just I really enjoy what I'm watching still. This is where I get nostalgic. I remember one day, and I don't know why this memory creeps in my head so much, but one day we were having a horrible snowstorm around the time of Christmas. It was like a week before. And I was playing Mass Effect 1. And like, there's a snowstorm, you could hear the snow blowing against my window, you could hear the wind howling outside, and I'm playing a level where that's what's happening in the game. It's a snowstorm planet that you're on called Novaria. And for some reason, every time around Christmas time, I'm like, I have to play, or I think about that memory, and I'll put on the ambience on like my computer or whatever, and just listen to it on loop, because it calms me down and relaxes me. Another one, believe it or not, is I have to watch Godzilla vs. Destroyer.
Really?
Yes. No particular theme as to why. It was just, I remember as a child, as a very young child, I used to have a small Christmas tree in my room. And I would always decorate it with my specific decorations that I still have to this day. Those same decorations I have hanging up on my tree right now. And there's something about having my Christmas tree on with the lights on, and I just happened to be watching Godzilla vs. Destroya on that DVD that I had. And every time it's like I see those Christmas lights, it's almost like, yeah, it's that time of year I need to watch Godzilla vs. Destroya again. And it just resonates with me. And in particular, it resonates with me when you're using colored lights, not like what I have on in the background right now, which are the tungsten lights. Well, I'm talking about the ones that are like red, green, blue, that kind of stretch about. It has to be those. It's so horribly, horribly specific. I don't know if you have any of those. I honestly haven't really met many people that don't have something that's like, no, it's around Christmas time. I have to check this stuff out. Like A Christmas Story, with Ralphie and the BB gun. I have to watch that every Christmas because it's not Christmas without A Christmas Story. And I still argue that that is the greatest Christmas movie ever made. Is that film? I don't know. John, do you have any traditions you'd like to disclose amongst the masses?
So, usually, my family and I would always watch, again, the subject of this video, though, Rankin Bass holiday special. Mm-hmm. But also Peanuts Christmas. That's where I always
really
go. Yeah, because first off, every holiday season, like Halloween, we have Great Pumpkin. We have Thanksgiving, Charlie Brown, and Easter Beagle. So Christmas, just naturally, we would always watch Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown every year. And then I guess on the subject of just memories, we would always, if we're here for the holidays, we would always go around town and look at all the big lights everyone has around. We would go through like 2 different towns, look at everything as the snow falls until like 10 at night. Then we just come home, make cocoa, just fall asleep.
Oh, the cocoa, yeah. That's something too that like my mother and I never really got along. I mean we do, and we love each other because she's my mother, I'm her only fucking child, and we love each other, but we can be like oil and water. Mm-hmm. Something that kind of happened as we got older, something that we kind of bonded over, speaking of hot cocoa, is hot cocoa with a little bit of Bailey's in it.
Really?
And her and I will be like 2 old women just chilling on the couch drinking hot cocoa with Bailey's. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I finally found something that I can really bond with my mother over.
See, I'm more of a hot cocoa with whipped cream. And then just whipped cream without
That's fine. Cocoa. That's fine. We never did whipped cream. We always did it with marshmallows. The little mini marshmallows. We'd always put in them. Though, that's kind of a new thing because even when I was growing up, see, I'm just fucking retarded, I guess.
Aren't we all?
Even when I was outside, we're all just a little retarded. When I was little, even when I'd be outside in the cold, shoveling, doing something like that, I always hated drinking warm drinks after.
Really?
I hated how it would make me feel. I'll smoke another one, Adam. And I just never liked how the heat would make like my chest feel. It would almost feel like I suddenly would start sweating. And so I would always drink something cold, and usually it was a glass of lemonade that I would always drink. So again, I'm just a weirdo, It's kind of, why would, that's so weird.
I can't really say I've had lemonade during the season. I guess on,
because that's such a summer drink,
Mm-hmm. Did you add a little umbrella to it too?
Oh, I'm not that gay.
Oh, okay.
I'm not that gay. Not yet, anyways. Not yet. Give it a couple years.
Yeah. Bet on 5.
Yeah. You'll bet on 5. Yeah, I have to turn 30. But you mentioned the Rankin Bass specials, which of course is the whole crux of why we are here. Before we get into that, I want to address some of these comments really quick.
Okay.
Oh God, this is like, what is this, the geriatric Christmas special? It turns out we're just all dying here. Also, on this day, on December 8th, 2004, Pantera guitarist and founding member Dimebag Darrell is murdered on stage during a performance in Ohio. I didn't know that.
Me neither. Also, I don't listen to Pantera very often.
It's kind of bad. I don't really listen to them either, but that sounds kind of badass to me. What a way to go out. Yeah. I watch that every Christmas, true, but it's only my second favorite Christmas movie. I'm assuming Hot Wax 93, first off, epic name. I'm assuming you're referring to A Christmas Story and not Godzilla vs. Destroyer. Number one is White Christmas. White Christmas is a good choice. That's a cute movie with Bing Crosby and Rosemary Clooney. That's a cute movie. That is one of those films that just makes you feel good at the end of it. So it makes you feel all warm and fuzzy and sentimental on the inside. Meanwhile, Master Video Studio says, I always watch Batman Returns and Gremlins.
Why not Gremlins 2?
Gremlins 2 doesn't count as a Christmas movie, does it?
No, it doesn't.
I was going to say, the first one certainly does.
I haven't seen the first one in ages.
I love the first one. I love the first one so much. I like it way more than the second one. I have a hard time with the second one because of how meta it is. It almost goes too hard on the meta. The one joke I remember really laughing at in the second one is the time machine disappearing and everyone wondering where it went in the background, and that made me laugh. Charlie Brown's Christmas, yeah, that seems to be a popular one. It's not Christmas without model trains. Oh, God. And even today, I have Train Around the Tree, and I always watch the Christmas winter episode of classic Thomas and Friends. Was George Carlin still the narrator on that one? Because I think I know which one you're talking about.
Ringo Starr was a narrator for a while, I think.
Hunter Coleman, have you ever seen A Christmas Story? Yeah, I mentioned that a little earlier, that it is my favorite Christmas film. Is that film. Wonderful one. Let's see. Home Alone, Part 1 and 2. Yeah.
Ooh, I forgot about those.
Home Alone 1 is genuinely a fantastic movie. Home Alone 2, I think, gets a bad rep. I still think I enjoy Home Alone 2 quite a bit, and I love the Pigeon Lady.
Yeah, see, if we're talking sequels, I thought 2 was phenomenal. I don't think I've ever seen anyone complain about 2. I think when it gets to 3, people are like, okay, this sucks.
Yeah, when Macaulay Culkin is no longer the main kid, that's when it really goes downhill. I think what gets to a pass in my book, and what keeps it from just being a complete and total retread of the first film, is the setting change. And I think it's so radically different than the first film that it passes.
Oh, 100%.
You know, you could tell basically the same story. Which is good. Because it is basically the same story. Part 1 and 2, it's literally the same exact fucking story. Unlike Ghostbusters 1 and 2, where Ghostbusters 1 is amazing, and Ghostbusters 2 is literally the same movie told over again.
You want to know something? I have never seen Ghostbusters 1 and 2.
You've never seen either?
I've seen was the cartoon.
Oh, no, I thought you were going to say the 2016 one for a second. I was going to say, John!
No. Look, I like trash, but I have standards.
You do have standards, yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, remember that show that we did for a while called Adam, Mark, and John Watch?
I do. We did a talk and Romeo and Juliet, I think.
Yeah, we did. We watched Romeo and Juliet, and I remember there was a part where you were laughing, and Mark and I are just staring slack-jawed at the screen, completely silent.
That sounds about right. I don't remember what scene.
I can't remember what scene it is either. I just remember that particular part. You also introduced me to what is, in my opinion, my personal favorite Troma film of all time, which is not Citizen Toxie. That's my second favorite. It's a close second. My favorite is Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead.
What a fantastic movie.
And I tell you, I think the thing that it's a fantastic movie, guys. Watch it if you can. I cannot emphasize the shock value of that movie. And it's a musical on top of all of that, which I think is what makes it my favorite one. It's like, you know what? We can make it a musical. Let's do it. Oh, man.
You need to watch the behind the scenes of the making of Poultrygeist.
I think you showed me that because you brought, I think, the DVD over and we watched it.
Oh, Poultry in Motion?
In the dorm room. Poultry, yeah, I think so.
It's
crazy.
Yeah.
Like I know I got to see Uncle Lloyd's ball sack in that. So I know. Nice. Yeah, it was glorious. I just love the fact that they made it a musical. That, to me, just adds to the hilarity of the whole thing. Citizen Toxie, though, what a masterpiece that is as well. Actually, I think Citizen Toxie is a better made movie than Poultrygeist.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I just appreciate Poultrygeist a lot more, or a bit more. I mean, the fetus fight in Citizen Toxie.
Oh, with the Duel of Fates?
Yes. It was, wow. It was so a masterpiece.
I think it's a very quotable movie. Like, at least once a day, I'm quoting something from that movie. Like, I'm just a common street whore who happens to know the key to interdimensional travel.
Oh my god, I forgot about that quote. That quote is so good.
It's like, it doesn't mean you have to treat me like one.
Fucking Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD. So good. Ever see Christmas Vacation and Santa Claus the movie? Christmas Vacation, the National Lampoon movie, the first one. Of course, I've seen it. It's a classic. As for Santa Claus the movie, are you talking about the Mexican one where he has to combat Satan?
No, I think he's talking about the one from the '84. It was
What's that one?
All I know about it was that it was a nostalgia critic video back in the day. But it was like this movie. I mean,
oh my god!
I don't really know much past that, because I haven't seen it in a while. But that's my only understanding of the film.
No, I have not seen that one. No, I was thinking of the one made in the Mexican film.
Oh.
It's in the public domain. It sucks they canceled the Toxic Avenger reboot. Was that the one that Peter Dinklage was going to be in?
Yes.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
If anybody... Oh, you know what would have made that perfect? It would have totally got that movie canceled, but I don't give a fuck. It would fit in the spirit of Troma, I think. Peter Dinklage, right? He's a dwarf. Have him be a dwarf until he gets covered in the toxic ooze. And then just have him still be a dwarf, right? But you make a costume around him where he's just walking on stilts for the rest of the film. And it's obvious he's walking on stilts for the rest of the film, and yet he's still somehow able to do all of these karate moves. I think that would have been perfect.
That would sound like a good idea.
It sounds like a great idea, yeah. A dwarf on stilts. And then, it's obviously a stunt double doing all the action. And then when it cuts back to Peter Dinklage, it's clearly just him. Don't do anything with his arms or anything. It's just clearly him on stilts.
Oh my god. That actually reminds me of something similar on set. There's a scene in the movie where Lloyd does how do I describe this? How long on this show? First and foremost.
Oh, you can say whatever you want.
Okay. So we have to film a cum shot scene, right?
Yeah. Okay. I love cum shots. All right, let's do this.
And so we have the thing set up and everything, but Lloyd doesn't want to use it. So he says, John, go get the black dildo. And I'm like, Lloyd, you're not black. It'll look weird. It's like, oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm like, Lloyd, that's a continuity issue. We can't.
Is it though? I mean, I think I would laugh at the joke if suddenly it cuts to a cum shot and suddenly his dick is black. I would laugh at the joke. I don't know if anybody else would laugh at the joke.
I think that was, and funny enough, I think that was the first time I almost threw up on set. It was like chunky.
Oh God, that's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Let's see. It's a Wonderful Life is a classic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a classic. I don't think I've actually seen that movie full through. I've seen the last 45 minutes of the film.
Really? You've never seen A Wonderful Life in full?
Not in full. No, I don't think I have.
It's a wonderful movie.
Elf is another one of those movies that I don't think I've ever seen full through. And I don't think I would like Elf.
It's all right. I feel like it's overrated at this point.
Yes, and I'm not a fan of Will Ferrell. That's my big thing. Is I just don't like Will Ferrell, except for some of his SNL stuff. Let me just put in another menthol cough drop. But you mentioned earlier, John, you mentioned Rankin Bass.
Yes, I did.
Because that is by far the biggest Christmas tradition I can think of for me, is turning on ABC's 25 Days of Christmas.
Yes.
And they would constantly play the Rankin Bass stop motion Christmas specials. And it was usually the stop motion ones that I would watch. Like Frosty, as much as I appreciate Frosty the Snowman, it was a cartoon, and that didn't interest me as much. I just thought the claymation style of the classic Rankin Bass things was so cool and so different from all the other stuff that I'm like, this is absolutely wonderful. And to me, it's just not Christmas unless I watch at least one of those films. You know, at least Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which is my personal favorite of the bunch.
Everyone's personal favorite. It's
so
like
good.
A great story from like A to B. Love the characters. Trying to think what else. I'm sorry. But also the songs. The songs.
Oh my God. The songs are really good. Put One Foot in Front of the Other it genuinely gets stuck in my head more than I like to admit. It's just a fun song. And it comes after Winter Warlock's Heart Melts. So, you know, it's a wonderful thing. But like Rudolph is another one that a lot of people go to and just say like that's a classic. And I agree. That was the one that started it all, was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and that was a huge hit. But then there's other ones that people just kind of forget about. People know the classics. You know, they know Rudolph, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Rudolph's Shiny New Year. Yes. People tend to know. And then people tend to know A Year Without a Santa Claus. Those are the ones that people tend to know. But there's a whole plethora of these things that a lot of people have no idea exist. The one that I always go to is actually Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July. That is like the destroy all monsters of Rankin Bass specials, because they literally threw in every one of their stop motion specials into this one movie. I mean, Jack Frost is in it. You have all of these different people in it, and it's wonderful.
So it's just all the, because I haven't seen Christmas in summer in a while. So wait, so is it just those three, or is there still like, or do they just add like a lot of the Rankin Bass? Like, I
can pull it up. It's literally almost all of them. They went all out on this one.
I assume they're not getting stuff from like Mad Monster Party and
no.
Oh.
Let's see. Christmas in July. Who is in it? Yeah, we got Rudolph, we got Frosty, we got Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus. Let's see. Oh, I forgot about the Snow Dragon. The Snow Dragon used to freak me out so much. You have Father Time from Rudolph's Shiny New Year. And I mean, it also has a big cast. You know, it's got Billy Ray Richards as Rudolph, and who's a woman, by the way. She is Rudolph, in my opinion. Nobody else can voice Rudolph like she could. She did a Rudolph in the original Shiny New Year, and this film. Those are the three that she did. Frosty is in it. Also voiced by a guy named Jackie Vernon, who voiced the original. He is the voice of Frosty. We got Mickey Rooney as Santa Claus, who will always be Santa Claus for me. Red Buttons. I keep forgetting Red Buttons was in these. Yeah, he plays the character named Milton, who appears in a couple of these. Let's see. Of course, there's Paul fucking Frees, who does the voice of Winterbolt, the villain, who turns into a tree at the end of the film. I just remember there's in Rudolph's Christmas in July, there's this really sweet scene in there because Rudolph kind of goes through a small little character arc thing that I can kind of remember. Mm-hmm. And he talks with Aurora, Lady Aurora, who's the Aurora Borealis thing in there. And Rudolph is like missing his parents or something like that. And like she kind of brings them back in a way where he can kind of remember them in a certain way. I was like, oh, that was it's been forever since I've seen it, but I just really remember that, and it was really sweet. I
remember the scene that got me the most was when Frosty and his family melts. I remember
yes,
yeah, that was one of those like childhood things where it's like, Frosty died?
Frosty fucking dies, yeah. His entire family dies. Because, wait, hold on. Wasn't his wife was introduced. Hold on, I have the list here. Mm-hmm. His wife was introduced in Frosty's Winter Wonderland, which was the sequel to Frosty the Snowman. And then it was her here, and she dies. Oh, this was a movie. Yeah, like a theatrical film. Holy shit, I didn't know that. Oh, it was the box office bomb. Yeah, of course it was. That's too bad. But yeah, this is like the big crossover one. This is like the Avengers of the Rankin Bass universe.
I can't wait for like witty comebacks like is Jack Frost behind me? Like generic like Marvel speak, but like
yeah, oh absolutely.
Oh my god.
But yeah, there's that one. Rudolph's Shiny New Year I haven't seen in several years, but a classic.
I keep forgetting there was like a caveman sidekick.
There is, yeah, because he's traveling to all these places in time.
Yeah.
My favorite was 1776.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah, I love 1776. You shut up. Let's see. What's another one? Oh, Year Without a Santa Claus, even though that doesn't have Rudolph or any of them in it. That was a classic. I just love Mrs. Claus in Year Without a Santa Claus. Mrs. Claus kicks all the ass of all time.
Funny thing I noticed when watching that movie, actually. So you know the Santa, what's it called? Painting they hang up at the end of Santa Claus is Coming to Town?
Yeah, yeah.
That's in the bedroom, in Santa's bedroom, in Year Without Santa Claus, which I
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing.
Recognize that.
I can't believe all of these are technically in continuity with each other. Like there's a little cinematic universe going on here that I actually really kind of like and appreciate. That you don't really notice as a kid completely, but as an adult you're like, oh, I see what they're doing. That's kind of cute.
I feel like it's kind of like how Showa did, like the Showa era, where it was like,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, where they didn't focus on the continuity of film between films, but it's like, yeah, they play into each other.
The Vulture in Rudolph's Shiny New Year makes my skin crawl. Yeah, his Eon the Terror is its name. And I always loved Eon the Terror because it reminded me of Rodan. Yeah. The only one of these films that I don't think is in continuity, technically, is the last one that they made. The last official Rankin Bass and stop motion special that they made, which was The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. I think that was completely its own thing, because it's essentially Santa Claus was coming to town, except a lot weirder.
I don't think I've ever seen that one. Like, how weird
It's insane. It's insane. It's like mythical creatures, mythical woodland creatures that are immortal. One of them desperately wants to have a child because they're immortal. They can't have children for some reason. And she finds this baby that is being protected by a lion in this cave. And she kind of smuggles the baby out. And, you know, the lion kind of comes along. And that baby turns out to be Kris Kringle, Santa Claus.
I'm not gonna lie.
And
you were describing the South Park episode with the woodland critters for a second.
It does. I think honestly, I think the woodland critters were inspired by what happens in the life and adventures of Santa Claus. I genuinely do, because there's some weird fucking shit that happens in there. I'm like, this is too much of a coincidence. And we know that Trey Parker is a fan of the Rankin Bass specials because he did Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh, yes. And the guy who sings the song is very much so a spoof of Fred Astaire from Santa Claus is Coming to Town, including the fact that they have the weird mouth movement on it, and I'm like, that's funny. But yeah, there's also like these weird demons that they've got to fight, and there's like an all-out war between the good immortals and the bad immortals, and all of the monsters that the bad guys have Showa era Toho monster roars. It's a weird one. It's a really fucking weird one. With a good score, it has some really good songs in it, particularly from a character named the Great Ack, who's in charge of the immortals. But they explain in this movie, it's so fucking weird. It explains this movie that at the end, Santa is like on his deathbed. Right, he's so old that he doesn't feel like he can do Christmas anymore. And so the immortals say, you've earned the power of immortality. And they grant him the power of immortality, so he'll always be Santa Claus. He will always be here. Which, the more you think about it, the more creepy it sounds, because now you can't die, Santa.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, you know, if I wanted to quit my job at Walmart and just like, no, you can't quit.
No, you can't do it.
Forever.
I love how they just kind of... Like, that's the benefit of, like, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. They just sort of hand wave that off.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if he's immortal or not.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. There's also no Mrs. Claus in the Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. That's something that I think Santa Claus is Coming to Town really nails, is I genuinely love Jessica, and I love her forming relationship with Kris Kringle.
Yeah.
I think it's just very sweet. She's kind of like a stuck-up teacher, colorless teacher, and then the moment she meets Kris, suddenly her world lights up. And she just falls in love with him, and I'm like, that's really sweet. It's really sweet. I love it.
Like, find, what's it called? Like, Winter? Try to save Santa. Like, that's what I'm just like...
Yeah. Yeah. She also sings that song, too. Hold on. It's often cut in television. If you watch it on television, they often cut the song out. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up.
Also, I didn't know there was a cut song, not a cut song in real, but an alternate song you were telling. Fame and Fortune.
Oh, of Rudolph. Yeah, of Rudolph. The song I was thinking of, by the way, is called The World is Beginning Today, that Jessica sings. And I remember as a kid not liking that song at all. I thought that song was the most boring thing ever. Mm-hmm. And I would often skip it. And evidently, Fox agreed, or ABC agreed, or whatever, because oftentimes they would cut it when it came to playing it on television. As an adult, listening to the lyrics of that song and kind of understanding the nuances of the song way more, it's now one of my favorites. It's such a beautiful song of her realizing that Kris Kringle has changed her life and has brought color to it and has made her realize that she's been not so much wasting her time, but she's been wrong about being such a stickler for the rules and being such an enforcer of the rules and everything like that. And she's like, my world is literally beginning today, despite how old I am. And I'm like, that's wonderful. I love that. And Winter Warlock goes through something very similar and everything like that. I'm like, that's so sweet. It's so sweet. That's Christmas to me, is that kind of shit. Is it cheesy? Yeah, absolutely. But I wouldn't want anything else at a Rankin Bass special. I want my Rankin Bass specials to be cheesy and to put shit-eating grins on my face.
I just wish there was like a company that would make similar movies like that, because I feel like, in my personal opinion, a good Christmas special in a while.
Well, everyone points to A Nightmare Before Christmas, and I'm just like, that's probably the closest thing we've gotten.
Even so,
but it's not the same.
Yeah,
it's just not the same. Nowadays, it would be CGI.
Yeah.
They would probably do it CGI. They probably do it like Lego Movie. Because Lego Movie is a 3D film, but like they just cut the frame rate down and took out all the motion blur. And it looks like it's stop motion, but it's not. So they would probably do it that way. And to me, that's just not as cool.
Yeah, because I feel like the hand puppets, the correlation with that reminds me a lot of, I don't know if your family has this still, but like the old Anna Lee dolls that are
my grandmother did.
Yeah, like it reminds me of that. So it's like there's that correlation between like these old Christmas decorations and what you see on the movies.
Oh, absolutely.
That's very smart.
It is. It is unbelievably smart, and it's very stylized too. Props to they were all done. Most of them were done by a Japanese company. A Japanese company animated the films and everything like that, which also explains why Rankin Bass got so close to Toho at around this time period, hence King Kong Escapes. But it was a Japanese company, Japanese animators that worked on it, and they were geniuses. Mm-hmm. They got it. And there's something about the crudeness of it all, and you really see it in Rudolph. Rudolph is by far, and I mean by far, the crudest out of them all, and it was the first. You know, it's kind of like you watch a Ray Harryhausen stop motion film like Jason and the Argonauts, and then you go to King Kong in 1933, and you're like, there's no comparison. The stop motion is far superior in Jason and the Argonauts, but yet you're also watching kind of like the birth of that genre. It wasn't really the birth, but it was the one that made it big. Was King Kong, and it was made 30 years before that, you know, and it's so, you know, one of my favorite things that I love about the original King Kong is that it was made before they had a material of rubber that the fur wouldn't get tussled when you animated it, right? So if you watch like Mighty Joe Young, which came out in 1949, not only is the animation smoother on Mighty Joe Young, first off, great fucking film as well, but the hair doesn't get tussled. The hair looks more realistic as a result. If you watch the original King Kong, you'll notice that Kong's fur moves all the time. It's just constantly bristling and moving. And that's because that's the hands of the animator moving the puppet every fucking frame. And I'm like, there's something about that I think is totally magical that you just don't have today. You just don't have that. And in Rudolph, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of stuff like suddenly the puppet jumps a couple of frames because they didn't have time to go back and kind of reanimate a sequence, so they just kind of froze it for a little bit and then just kept moving. And there's also ones where it's like suddenly you'll see like a bush, the bush moves. Like suddenly a character will be walking by it, suddenly the bush or the twigs change and stuff like that. And that's because animators had to go in there and manually manipulate these puppets a frame at a time, and one animator went in there and accidentally hit the bush. We can't stop. We got to keep going.
Yeah, it's like, you know, again, from someone who does animation, it's a real fucking bitch. And sometimes it's like, you know, do I have time to really go back and do this?
Yes.
I'm on a deadline.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's fascinating. And there's a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears into making this sort of stuff that I think is just missing today. And I genuinely think it's missing today.
You know what?
Because I don't want to knock I don't want to knock CGI artists because they work their butts off. It's just a different kind of work.
Right.
It's just it's the amount of patience that these guys had to have. And the amount of understanding that, hey, we've only got X amount of time to animate an entire 50-minute short film. The amount of... We just have to keep going. Like, that level of dedication is absolutely insane to me. And something that, as a filmmaker, makes me appreciate the classic Rankin Bass specials, like There's No Tomorrow. Like, There's No Tomorrow. I think it's awesome. You really see it with the lip movements.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see it a lot.
You know, again, it's very, the way I can describe it, it's very South Park. You know, if you look at like any, like especially with 2D animation, you know, for the most part, you're not drawing everything like boom, boom, boom. Actually, no, you are drawing it where it's just like, okay, every mouse sim is going to be very different, but
yeah,
you know, compared to like a South Park or like a puppet style where it's just like, okay, we have all the ooh mouse or the ah mouse, like we're just gonna pin them in. And then we're just going to take the picture. Then we're going to move on to the next frame.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And
just
I know that there's one in King Kong too that's really funny to me. What they had these things called surface gauges, and what they would do is the surface gauges would be placed in between shots, and that would measure. Okay, our character is here. This is how far we now need to move him for the next frame. Right, just to add insult to injury, right, in terms of how much time you have to go into literally just shooting a frame at a time. On the cliff, before Kong fights the pterodactyl, there's one frame where they accidentally left it in.
Oh.
So there is one frame where you blatantly see the surface gauge on King Kong, and then it just keeps going, and I'm like, that's hysterical. I don't know why I love that so much, because it's like they couldn't go back, or else they're going to have to do an entire day's worth of work all over again. They just don't have the time or the money to do that. And I'm like, well, fuck it. It's only a frame. Leave it in. Oh, it's so good. So good.
Yeah.
But you did... No, go ahead, John.
I was going to say, I would personally love to make something like a Rankin Bass special one of these days. Like, actually make the puppets and just animate it.
And you know what? Like I would argue I would want to make a genuine one.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to make a meta one that makes fun of it. Kind of like, you know, they kind of did that with, what was it, the Meister Brothers Christmas special or something that came out in 2008, which was awful. And I'm like, no, I think if I were to do this, genuinely do this, I would try to emulate the old ones as closely as possible and make a genuine, heartfelt story, cute story that celebrates Christmas and celebrates the hard work that these guys put into making the original stuff. Because all of them, it's really impressive too. All of them were written by a guy named Romeo Muller. Just about all of them were written by this guy. Mm-hmm. This guy must have literally, and I look at a picture of him, and I'm like, this guy's literally Santa Claus.
Really?
Like, hold on, I'll pull him up right now so you can kind of see a picture of him.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, this guy. He's literally Santa Claus. To me. This guy wrote just about all of them. And I'm like...
Maybe it's his way of, like hinting, like, ooh, this is what actually happened.
Maybe he actually is Santa Claus? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
But, like, let's look at the credits of what he wrote, right? He wrote... Yeah. Just for the holiday specials, he wrote Rudolph, the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Let's see. The Little Drummer Boy, Frosty the Snowman. The Little Drummer Boy came out before Frosty? I didn't know that.
Did it?
Yeah, The Little Drummer Boy came out in 1968, and Frosty came out in 1969. I didn't know that. Shit. Let's see. What else did he make? Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Here Comes Peter Cottontail. Rudolph's Shiny New Year. Frosty's Winter Wonderland. Easter Bunny is Coming to Town. I haven't seen that one, but I've heard it's all right. Nestor the Long-Eared Donkey.
It has the guy from Santa Claus is Coming to Town, the postage guy.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah, he tells that story in Easter Bunny's Coming to Town.
Oh my God, yes he does! Fred Astaire, oh shit! I've got to see it now. I've got to look it up. Nestor the Long-Eared Donkey, which is by far the saddest out of the bunch.
Never seen that one yet.
It's so sad.
Does he die?
He doesn't die, but his mother does, saving him.
Oh.
Yeah. What happens is the Romans kick Nestor out, right? And it's like the saddest scene ever. They kick Nestor out, and Nestor's going to freeze to death. His mother then breaks free from the Romans, and she sacrifices herself to keep her baby warm. And I'm like, that is the saddest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Well, Rome deserves to fall. It deserves to fall.
Rome deserves to fall just for what they did to Nestor and his mother. The whole story with Nestor. Nestor is, by the way, another one, and it's kind of connected to the Little Drummer Boy in this way. Nestor is also it takes place at the exact same time as the Little Drummer Boy. And Nestor ends up becoming the donkey that carries the Virgin Mary to the barn where she gives birth to Jesus. Because there's a story that she was carried by a mule or a donkey into Bethlehem. And the Nestor the Long-Eared Donkey says it was Nestor. Nestor's the one that carried her there. It's again, it's a very religious story, so people who aren't religious probably won't like it as much as, say, I, who have only recently really kind of discovered his religion and his faith and everything like that, and also having read the story and read the Bible and everything like that. I get it a little bit more. I get the references, and I get like the little drops here and there of stuff. It's just very sad, which I don't want on Christmas. You know, I don't really want to feel sad and depressed the entire time. Jack Frost. No, go ahead, John. Sorry.
No, I'm going to say, no, I just want gingerbread houses and happiness. That's it.
That's all I want. That's all I want for Christmas. It's very simple. All I Want for Christmas by Mariah Carey. I love the memes. I love the memes that come from that song. My favorite one I saw, John, and I think you would appreciate this. I saw one that said, All I Want for Christmas by Mariah Carey, except she just really needs to sneeze.
Uh-oh.
And so the entire time it's like, like throughout the entire song. They did the entire song, John.
Oh, no.
They just, it's so funny. Yeah, it's so fucking funny.
I just don't believe it.
Let's see. He wrote Jack Frost. Leprechaun's Christmas Gold. Oh my God. That's the one that I remember a lot. That's a weird one. He accidentally awakens a banshee. Oh my God. Yeah, he makes friends with all of the leprechauns. Right? This guy that crash lands on this island, but he accidentally frees a banshee. And the banshee's like wicked evil. It's a cute little movie. Yep, that's what he wrote. That was the last one that he wrote. So Jesus Christ, he wrote a vast majority of these films, including Christmas in July. So he's really, I'd say, even more than Arthur Rankin and Jules Bass. I'd say he's the linchpin. He's the thing that gave them the heart and soul that they have, that these specials have, is this guy.
Yeah. Also, I think it's funny that they always base it off like the songs, like Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Like, yeah, like they're and like Little Drummer, like they're all songs, and they just turn them into these like Christmas classics.
Yeah, They take the song and then turn it into a complete story.
Maybe that's what we should do. We should just take like a Christmas song and just turn it into a movie.
We should do I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas.
Oh my god. See, that would be cute.
That would be funny.
Very cute.
That would be cute. Or like, all I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth. Something like that. I don't know. Spike Jonze.
Well, yeah, no, he's like, yeah, he wrote the song.
Did he really? I'm looking this up. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Fuck me, it was Spike Jonze.
Yeah, it was Spike. Yep.
Shit.
I will say my favorite one though is I think Stan Freberg. I Got Nothing for Christmas. That one is a good one.
That's a classic.
About, like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think like what other Christmas song might be.
I mean, there is The Night Santa Went Crazy by Weird Al Yankovic. Where,
I don't know.
Where Santa Claus commits a mass shooting because he didn't get no cookies.
I mean, justifiable, in my opinion.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. Also, you can tell Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was the first one of the specials that they did because of how many different versions of that show there is. And I mean of the original. There's different cuts of the original film. And there's multiple different versions of it. And it's kind of interesting.
I know we were talking about...
Oh, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
No, I just said, like, because I know there's only one, like, that we talked about. Like, what other versions are there?
Well, there's the original version that aired on TV, which I think is the most hysterical thing ever. Because you know how Rudolph and Hermie and Yukon Cornelius, who is the MVP of that special, they go to the island of misfit toys, and that lion god thing says, hey, can you go to Santa and remind him that he's got a bunch of rejects that he's made here that he's just completely forgotten about, and tell them that he needs to find them a home. And Rudolph is like, I promise I will. In the original version of Rudolph, it's like they forgot that was a part of the movie. And so it just ends with Rudolph leading the way, and it just goes to end credits. They don't go back to the island of misfit toys at all. Rudolph doesn't even bring it up to Santa. And what made them change it, and to me this is what's beautiful about it, what made them change it and realize, oh shit, yeah, we kind of fucked that up, was a bunch of kids, thousands of kids, wrote in to the Rankin Bass studio or the P.O. box or whatever, to the point where it flooded over. And they were complaining, how could Rudolph be such an asshole and forget about the island of misfit toys? How he's such an ass. And so what they did was they then went back, reanimated a part, and added in a line where Rudolph brings up to Santa the island of misfit toys. And then also, now the end credits has Santa arriving at the island of misfit toys, and it's the misfit toys that he's dropping off at children's houses.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it's insane. It's hysterical. And you can watch, I believe, the original airing of the film, that version of the film, on archive.org. I believe somebody has it recorded in black and white, where you can see the original ending. Very interesting.
What if, so let's just say they redid the animation just for Santa to come down, say no, and just leave.
And just leave? I think the only thing that would make that better if suddenly he just pulled out a shotgun or a flamethrower, burned all the toys, and then just said no witnesses and flew away.
Santa says no witnesses here.
It's one of my... Have you ever seen the Tom Scott video called No Witnesses?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay, so a little girl hears something downstairs, and she goes downstairs and sees Santa. And Santa sees her and goes, oh, oh. And she's all happy. She's like, Santa. And he goes, oh, shh, no witnesses. Pulls out a fucking 9mm pistol and shoots her. And that's it. That's it.
You're killing me, Adam.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. But yeah, that was the original version of Rudolph. There's also another version of Rudolph that exists in the ether. And I got to tell you, John, this was a very big case of I thought I had the Mandela effect happen to me. Because we had it on VHS, or my grandparents did. And whenever I popped that version in, instead of Hermie and Rudolph singing We're a Couple of Misfits, which is the version that most people see today. That's the version that's available on Blu-ray and DVD, and that plays on television today. They instead sang a song called Fame and Fortune. And forever, I thought I was just imagining things, because suddenly every other version I'd see would be We're a Couple of Misfits, which fits way better than Fame and Fortune, by the way. Well, it turns out I was not indeed sucked into another dimension. Fame and Fortune did exist. It was... I can't tell you what that version of the film is called, but on archive.org, that version of Rudolph is called the transatlantic version. And I don't know for the life of me why they changed the song We're a Couple of Misfits. In fact, I can probably pull it up really quick.
Because I've never heard that song before.
Yeah, I wish there was a way for me so you can hear it. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Yeah, it pops up. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Let's see. Let's see if I can't find a clip of it on YouTube. Because there's We're a Couple of Misfits is the version everyone knows. And then what confirmed that this version did exist is that it is a special feature on the DVD set that I have. That you can watch this version of the scene. And I'm like, it does exist. It was like I was the M&Ms from that Christmas commercial where they see Santa and they scare Santa and they're like, he does exist, and he's like, they do exist. And then they faint. Yeah, that was me with this scene. Let's see. Yeah, why the hell did they even change it? That's the thing that I get confused about. John, I don't think you're going to be able to hear it, but everyone here, I think, will be able to hear it. It's a different version of the scene. Fame and fortune, fame and fortune. Why did they change it?
Yeah. I think the fact that I couldn't hear it makes the context even better.
Yeah, because what they did was he held the final note. And so it made them sound like they're going, ah! And he just put their faces over it. Oh, that was good. That was good. Is Rudolph deleted scenes? What?
Uh-oh.
I'm going to have to watch this video. I'm going to have to watch this video later, because I guess there are deleted scenes that just don't exist. So there might be more versions of this, of Rudolph, out there that I don't know about. But yeah. More people need to learn about this. The deep lore of the first Rankin Bass Christmas special. John, what is your favorite one?
Oh, my favorite one. You know, it's a toss-up between Rudolph's Shiny New Year and Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Rudolph's Shiny New Year.
But
go ahead, John.
Yeah. I want to say Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Santa Claus is Coming to Town, I think it's the classic. You know, it's like the classic go-to feel-good one. And it's that way for a reason. It's just really good. And it's really well paced. It doesn't stay too long. It's just really well paced. Shiny New Year, I think it's Jenny. Jenny that really doesn't like Shiny New Year. It was either Jenny or Antonio. One of them really did not like Shiny New Year. I love Shiny New Year because there's that fucking baby that has like the Dumbo ears. Those ears. Eon the Terror laughs himself to death at the end of the film, and I'm like, what the hell?
Because wasn't the plot that he was trying to kill the baby so it can be December 31st so he can live?
So he can live, yeah. Because once it turned a new year, he was going to die because he was Eon. He would be an Eon old or something like that, and he would die. And so if he stole the baby New Year, it would say December 31st forever. And that's why Father Time summons Rudolph and says, Rudolph, you must, it's like a James Bond mission. You must save Baby New Year.
But you know what? I think I appreciate weirder sequels like that. Because it felt like if we just tread the same ground, then, okay, we know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But it's like, okay, you know Rudolph, guy with the shiny nose? What if he has to save a baby with big ears from an evil vulture and go through time by going to different islands in time to save time?
Exactly. And so Rudolph now has to go to the different isles of time. Like he meets a caveman, he meets a knight, and then he meets 1776, my personal hero. And then they team up together and they work together and they save the Baby New Year. And you know what? You say you love the sort of stranger sequels. You know what's fucking insane? I don't think this is strange for this style of Rankin Bass. I think it fits in just fine with how ridiculous everything is already. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, this is made for kids. We just have to swallow it and buy it. This is what's happening. And once you do, you're like on board. You're like, yeah, this is what's happening. Fucking Frank Gorshin did a voice the Riddler. The guy who played the Riddler in the original Batman. Yeah, with Adam West. Frank Gorshin, he does Sir 1023. He's the knight. And I can hear it now.
Oh.
Remembering his voice, I could totally hear it. Yeah, Paul Frees. Look how many voices Paul Frees does in this fucking thing. He voices 1776, Santa Claus, General Ticker, Eon the Terrible, Humpty Dumpty. I forgot Humpty Dumpty was in this. And the Great Quarter Past 5. Yeah, Humpty Dumpty's in it. You don't remember Humpty Dumpty?
Oh. No, I don't actually. Is this like a Mandela effect? Because
probably.
I thought it was just people from... Like, I don't remember in the course of human history that there was just an Eggman sitting on a wall and he fell over and the knights put him back together again.
Shiny New Year, Humpty Dumpty. I remember the Great Quarter Past 5. That was the whale, I believe.
Yes.
Let's see if you don't remember this. Oh yeah, I'm pulling it up and I can remember this.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't remember the egg.
I vaguely remember this. Yeah, that's not racist.
No, not at all.
I vaguely remember this guy. And I want to say he was in 1776. He was in that one. Because Ben Franklin! I forgot Ben Franklin was in it!
Oh!
Because Ben Franklin's a fucking boss.
My favorite Christian character, Benjamin Franklin.
Absolutely. Benjamin Franklin. He's my favorite Rankin Bass character. Oh, dude. Father Time. Look at Father Time and tell me, if we weren't to do a live-action remake of this film, that wouldn't be Conan O'Brien.
Oh, my... Yeah. Yes, it
He'd do it. The
cheeks. I mean, besides...
And the red hair. Yeah. And you know what, too? I think he could do it. I think he could genuinely do it. What we need to do is we need to tell him, don't do your shtick. Mm-hmm. Play the part genuinely, and you're fine. It's like if somebody ever did a live-action sort of adaptation or like a remake of Batman 66 and like just went all out and did it in that style, I'd want Conan O'Brien to play Joker.
Ooh, that's a good choice.
I think he'd do great.
But also, I think Conan's just genuinely really funny. I mean, compared to any other like late night, like it's not like it's Jimmy Fallon. You know what I mean?
You know, I think Jimmy Fallon is way better than Jimmy Kimmel. I hate Jimmy Kimmel.
Is that? I'm not gonna lie, I kind of confuse the two a lot.
Jimmy Fallon is the one that laughs obnoxiously a lot. Jimmy Fallon is the one on ABC.
I must be thinking of Kimmel.
That
was the one in the Jurassic Park movie, right? He was in Jurassic Park. Jurassic World. Yeah, he played like a cameo where he was like inside the balls that were going through the dinosaur land. Pretty sure that's Jimmy Kimmel.
Cameo, Jurassic World. I have to look this up now. No, that's Jimmy Fallon.
Oh.
That's Jimmy Fallon. And don't get me wrong, I don't really like Jimmy Fallon either. I just hate Jimmy Kimmel. Probably because I have to watch him every other night at work.
Oh, you poor thing.
It's awful. He's so lazy. That's my problem with him. Is he's just lazy. Like you compare him to like Conan, who does all this weird shit. And I was like, Jimmy, you're just lazy. Like, I'm actually tempted to watch the Oscars this year because Conan O'Brien is hosting it.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he got chosen to host it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And the promo for it is actually pretty funny. The promo for it is him appearing on screen saying, I finally won an Oscar, and then it's a bunch of people chasing him trying to take the Oscar back because he didn't win an Oscar. He's just hosting the Oscars.
Oh, that's great.
Well, that's what I love about, now that we're talking about Conan, what I love about Conan is his self-deprecating humor. He never makes somebody else the butt of the joke. He's always the butt of the joke. Or he'll make somebody the butt of the joke, and then that person will then reverse it and make him the butt of the joke. And I respect that a lot.
I feel like that's the way like it should be, because that's like a lot of my humor. Because like I realized like I'm just kind of like this like weird enigma of a guy, so it's like I kind of relate with that a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like Christmas. I really want to watch Christmas in July again.
Yeah, we should. We should actually do that, like probably like next week or something.
We might be able to do it next week. I know next Sunday I'm hosting something with a bunch of people, but the thing is, it's just one film and it's like 90 minutes long, so we might be able to get away with it on a Monday night.
Oh, word.
Because that's all we'd watch. I haven't seen it for so long. I know Antonio hates, and I mean hates with a passion, Christmas in July. He's like, this is so weird. Yeah, he's like, this movie is so needlessly weird. I'm like, that's rich coming from you, Antonio.
Yeah, he's the one that wrote Man Baby.
I know, and the fucking actor that played in it, Jesus Christ, what a fucking freak.
Let's go bust his kneecaps.
We should just kill him.
All right. When and where?
The 15th, yeah, let's do it. The 15th. It's a date.
15th.
We're gonna kill that We're gonna kill that motherfucker. I should probably address some of these fucking comments, shouldn't I? Think Meister Meister Burger was a German stereotype? Yeah, just a little. Meister Meister Burger take care of a baby? Outrageous!
I feel like they should make it like a sequel or like an alternate film where he does take in Santa Claus, and Santa Claus is just like
they raise Santa to be like this Prussian, like this crazy Nazi Prussian. Oh, which I love that song too, the Meister Meister Burger song. First, his name is hysterical. Meister Meister Burger. That's so fucking funny. And then I love the song that he sings where he's like, I am the #1 lawmaker. And he creates a bunch of things. And he lists like all the reasons why toys need to be illegal. And it just like keeps going on and on and on. And I'm like, that's so funny. Also, he's voiced by Paul Frees. You can't top that.
Oh, Lord.
Dude, I just saw over Facebook that Zazabar's 30th birthday. Oh yeah, he would be 30. He would be 30. I didn't even know he was still alive, if I'm being completely honest. I don't know why Zazabar retired from making videos. If you want to know why, you can go check out my Sons of Sarazawa 10-year anniversary live stream that I did, where I kind of go into that a little bit. I know today was also the day that America declared war on Japan. It's why I consider today a holiday. Let's see. I would love to celebrate Christmas in Israel at least once. Are you in Israel? If so, man, I don't envy you at all right now. Ever seen Polar Express? Yes, I have. I didn't like it.
I'm glad we're on the same boat. It's a good short story if you read the book.
It's wonderful. But the book is wonderful. It's so neat. Like, I remember there's this one part where it's like they get the train falls off the tracks and they're like in the middle of a lake and it's frozen over and then the ice starts breaking. And I'm like, why? What does this have to do with Christmas?
Also, wasn't there like a ghost man living on top of the train?
Played by Tom Hanks, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because Tom Hanks plays everybody in that film, apparently.
Mm-hmm. What else was that? There was also the guy who played Mandark was that annoying kid.
Yes. Yes.
Eddie Deason, yep.
Everyone talks about how the animation is terrible. I don't think the animation is terrible. I just think it's extremely dated. Yes. I believe it was groundbreaking at the time. It's just very dated now, which is so interesting because like you watch the original Shrek 1, and it still holds up remarkably well. In fact, I would say Shrek 1 holds up way better than something like Toy Story, the original Toy Story, in terms 100%. Of its animation. Yeah. Like, I was shocked.
Because also with Polar Express, that was all mocap.
Yeah, that's right. That was mocap.
Yeah, so that's why I feel like it doesn't look very, I don't want to say well, but looks very dated. While Shrek, you're actually having someone animate, each frame.
This is true. This is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, did they do Happy Feet the same way? Did they do that mocap? Remember that film, Happy Feet? The guy who directed all the
Mad Max films.
Max movies made Happy Feet for some reason.
I still think my favorite quote that he said, if someone put a gun to my head and said, make Happy Feet 3, I would just say, pull the trigger.
Pull the trigger. See, here's the thing. I remember, granted, I've not seen it in well over a decade, but I remember the first Happy Feet being fine. I remember it being fine. And I like the concept.
Oh, what? I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, there was Happy Feet, and there was that other Penguin movie that came out, Surf's Up or whatever.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Nothing will ever top, though, the Penguin and the Pebble, or the Pebble and the Penguin. Do you know that movie?
I've never seen it. I may know of it. I know it's Don Bluth.
Yes. And I remember watching that movie so much as a kid. Because we had it on VHS, and I would watch it all the time, and I loved it. Let's see. What else have we got here for chat? I'm actually kind of surprised chat is as vocal as it is, considering that we're talking about something that nobody really on my channel talks about. You know who else Paul Frees voices? Doctor Who at Keycard Escapes. You're goddamn right. Actually, he does the voice of all the other male characters except for the two leads in King Kong Escapes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there is one part, apparently, where Rhodes Reeson, who plays the lead in King Kong Escapes, he went in to redub his lines, because that's what they needed to do. He went in to redub his lines, and Paul Frees was leaving when he was coming in. And Paul Frees looked at Rhodes Reeson and goes, "You know, I don't know why you're here. I can do your voice better than you can."
Ooh.
It was meant as a joke. It wasn't meant as like shade or anything like that, but it was meant as a joke because Paul Frees literally did every other male character in that, with the exception of Akira Takarada's character. And I'm like, that's insane. That's insane. But the guy, man of 1,000 voices. No late show host will ever top the late, great Johnny Carson. You're absolutely correct. Carson was actually funny, and even though he talked politics, he didn't try to shove his personal agenda down your esophagus. Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel, take note of that. Johnny Carson's fucking great. No, I'm not in a holy land at the moment. Okay. All right, good. I was worried about your safety, Master Video Studio. Steve Irwin is in the first Happy Feet. He is? Who the hell does he voice? I gotta look this up. I know Elijah Wood was in it. Robin Williams is? Who the hell does Robin Williams voice? Ramon. Okay. Yeah, now I remember. Who the hell is he? Trev. Oh. So this is before he got killed by a stingray. Okay. When did he die? He died in 2006. When did Happy Feet come out? 2006. Yeah. I still can't believe it's fucking George Miller.
Once I learned that, I was like, the Garage of Fury Road made the Garage of Fury Road did the movie with the talking penguins?
Why did he want to make it?
It should be canon with Mad Max. Just
absolutely.
I want a crossover right now.
Yeah, I just don't. Why did he want to make Happy Feet? Is this like a case of like Stanley Kubrick desperately wanted to make AI and make a family picture, but then dying?
Oh.
Yeah, did you know about that?
I did know about that.
Yeah.
I know everyone blamed on Spielberg for a little bit. It's like, no, it was
Kubrick. Yeah, Kubrick wanted that ending. Yep. Mm-hmm. Specifically the ending, I think, was what he was talking about. As an initial inspiration for the film, George Miller cited an encounter with a grizzled old cameraman whose father was Frank Hurley of the Shackleton expedition. Okay. I don't know if you know what the Shackleton expedition is, but oh boy.
I don't.
Shackleton expedition was this wonderful story where there was this expedition that was going to the South Pole, and they were trying to, be one of the first to get to the pole, the actual pole. Well, their boat got stuck in the ice, and this is in like 1913 through 1914, and they wound up spending 2 years out on the ice, trapped in the ice, essentially. And the ice eventually crushed their ship, so then they had to cross thousands of miles just on the boats on top of the ice, and then the ice gave way, so then they had to spend thousands of miles in the boats. It's an insane story, John. You have to look it up. It's such a good story.
So is this a true story, or is this just like
it's real.
Work of fiction?
The Shackleton expedition really happened. And everyone lived, too. That's the crazy thing. You learn about it, and you see what they went through, and the fact that they all lived is insane. It's fitting that their ship was called the Endurance.
Because wasn't there a very similar expedition that happened where they end up like cannibalizing each other?
That happened much earlier, and that was in the North Pole. They were looking for the Northwest Passage. That was the Franklin expedition.
They were looking for Santa Claus.
They were looking for Santa Claus, exactly. No, they were looking for the Northwest Passage. They were fucked from the beginning because they had the food that they had was contaminated with lead already and botulism because they fucked up the sealing of the cans. So that was going to fuck them eventually no matter what. But then on top of that, they got stuck in the ice. Both ships, the Terror and the Erebus, got stuck in the ice. So they waited for summer for it to thaw. Problem was summer never came that year. So they were stuck in the ice still. So eventually they had to abandon both boats because the ice was crushing the boats, and then they just disappeared.
Oh my.
A vastly oversimplification of what happened. But what I love about it is how they discovered kind of like the fate of these people is like they just found clues frozen in ice over the course of the centuries that passed, since that was in the 1840s. And there's one body that they found perfectly preserved on this island that they buried. And they said they knew something was bad because when they took a look at this guy's teeth, because again, he was almost perfectly preserved in the ice. Right. When they took a look at his teeth, they noticed a lining of gray on the upper part of his gums by his teeth, which is the signature sign of lead poisoning.
Oh.
And then they found some cans. And they're like, they were sealed with lead. They were all going to die no matter what they did. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. So they were fucked from those poor bastards.
Yeah, wow.
There's a great book called The Terror. I've done a few videos on it. The Terror, which is one of my favorite books. One of the thickest books I've ever read. But Dan Simmons turned it into a historical fiction story, and he added some supernatural elements in that there was the Eskimos that they were dealing with. There was this mythical polar bear monster with a really long neck, and it was very much so bigger than a regular polar bear called the Thunbach that was stalking them. And it's really creepy. And I didn't think I would like it because of that. Like I was like, oh, really? You're going to add a fantasy element to this real story? No, it totally worked. It totally worked. And it's an incredibly creepy story. And I will say my favorite part of the book is when the doctor, good sir, goes into excruciating detail for about 5 pages of what exactly happens to your body when you develop scurvy.
Oh?
And I remember when I got to that part in the book, I had to put the book down. I was like, I'm done for the day. I remember genuinely, he went into the nitty-gritty detail. This is what your body's what's going to happen to all of us once scurvy starts setting in. And it will set in. Yeah. Wonderful shit, dude. I've actually got a book behind me about one of the failed Belgian expedition to the South Pole, where they all died. Horrible deaths as well. Yeah, I'm obsessed with it.
So how horrible are we talking?
Well, they all died and froze to death slowly. As far as I know. I could be wrong, because I don't know much. The reason why I picked up the book was because I don't know too much about the Belgian expedition, other than that it went horribly, horribly, horribly wrong. I don't know why I'm obsessed with that, but I became very much so obsessed with, thanks to reading about the Rainbow Valley on Everest, which is called Rainbow Valley because of all the dead bodies that are there.
Oh, yes. That's what you're talking about.
I became obsessed with it because reading on that, but I became obsessed with the idea that hell isn't hot, it's freezing. And that concept really kind of like captivated me for a very long time, and I became obsessed with all these stories about finding the Northwest Passage or trying to get to the pole or climbing to the top of K2 and the disasters that happened on top of K2 and Everest and everything like that.
Pass.
Dyatlov Pass? Yeah, that did lead me to Dyatlov Pass. Yeah, it did. That's a fucking insane that is legit, even though I think I know what happened. Yeah. And it's not really scary. It is and it isn't, but, you know, it's not really as terrifying as some people are like, oh, they got chased by a Yeti, or it was the KGB, or it was aliens. Nah.
It was the Yeti who worked for the KGB.
Oh, that would be the ultimate twist. The Yeti is actually a Soviet. He's a communist.
Communist Bigfoot.
Jesus Christ. It's communist Bigfoot.
One time in college, I only wrote like a brief outline, but I was going like, what if I made this a musical?
I love the idea of making something a musical. Making something randomly a musical, I think, is perfect.
I mean, I feel like that's the best thing to do. Like, I feel like you make the most mundane thing just more spectacular than it actually is in real life.
Exactly. Like, I would love to make a let's see, like The Death of Stalin, you know, a dark comedy. I want to do that, but for the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1963. If I do that plus make it a musical, I think we've got the perfect film.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, that's why I feel like the South Park movie worked so well. I feel like if it wasn't a musical, it wouldn't be that good.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally didn't know it was a musical when I first watched it. I remember that. It was just like Poultrygeist. I did not expect that to be a musical, and that totally made it better. Made it funnier, for sure. Hey, glad to see that you won No Nut November 2024. Not trying to spam, I swear. You know, regardless if that was meant for me or not, it seems it wasn't. My congratulations to you. You have way more self-control than I do. Granted, I was having actual sex and not fapping, but yeah. Finally. I love how excited you are, eh? That you won No Nut November. You should be excited. Here's a gold star.
You know, go buy yourself a steak.
Go treat yourself. You deserve it. And you know what December is then? December is Destroy Your Dick December. I remember my friend Oliver. I don't know if you've met my friend Oliver.
I don't think. I know you told stories, but that's about it.
Fucking Oliver was like, yeah, you know what's the real big one? It was like no pee January, and then there's no poop February or something like that. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Man, imagine that March, taking that shit in March. Again, it'll just be like the scene in Poultrygeist.
Yes. I'm dying. Don't
spread your dying to me.
I just can't believe George Miller made fucking Happy Feet. I love how I'm still on that.
Happy Max 2.
We love Happy Max 2.
Happy Max 2.
So Little Drummer Boy, we watched Little Drummer Boy.
Yes, we did.
First off, destroy your dick December. Talk about unhealthy. It depends on how you're destroying your dick. Yeah, George Miller made Happy Feet. So that was the one out of the three that we watched. We watched Rudolph, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and then A Year Without Santa Claus. And The Little Drummer Boy was the one that I had not seen in over a decade. That was the one that I had not seen. And definitely crude in terms of the animation. And it was definitely... the quality of the copy that I had was not the best. Definitely dark, grainy. Needs a good restoration.
Now, was that like a DVD rip, or was that just like a VHS?
It was a DVD rip. Yeah.
Okay.
It was a DVD rip.
Ooh.
But it's also not... At the same time, I kind of excuse that because it's not a big of a deal as Rudolph and Santa Claus is Coming to Town, where those are 50-minute specials. This was only this wasn't even a half hour. Though I forgot Jose Ferrer did a voice in it. A.k.a. the rapist on Lawrence of Arabia. But Jose Ferrer did a voice of the main guy that runs the freak show or the circus, whatever.
Yeah.
But that was a surprisingly sweet movie for me. And I've always loved the song Little Drummer Boy. Particularly the version that plays in that movie. I like that version. But when it was all said and done, the feeling in the room that I got from the watch party that we had was mixed. But I liked it. I enjoyed how sweet it was. And simple. I enjoyed the simplicity of the whole thing.
My take on it is like, I agree. Very simple. Very to the point. My biggest issue is just, it feels like, because this wasn't their first film.
No.
But it feels very crude.
Yeah.
Which, again, given its first, if it was its first production, I feel like I would have been like, okay, I understand. But at some points, it felt a little cheap just to watch like some of the animation.
And again, you mentioned the cheap animation, or it feels cheaper, and I think it was. I think what I'm saying here is it was genuinely cheaper. The production time on it was significantly shorter than probably what they had on Rudolph and Santa, and it feels that way.
Right. Yes.
And again, it's only a half hour special instead of an hour long one that they normally are. And I just really like the ending. I think that's what made me say, no, this is still really sweet. It's the rest of it, the whole backstory with the little drummer boy and him hating humanity because the Romans killed his parents or bandits killed his parents or something like that. Which I love. I was laughing my ass off at that. Like how fucking dark suddenly it randomly got. Like we just went from dancing animals to suddenly the dad getting stabbed.
Maybe that's what's it called? Santa Claus is Coming to Town needed. That's
murder.
How Santa got there. Yeah.
Yeah, it needed murder. But once he arrives in Bethlehem, which is when the story begins, which is when the actual story of the little drummer boy truly begins, if you listen to the song. I just thought it was very sweet. And a couple of you guys were laughing at it, but I got it, and I think it was mainly because my newfound faith and stuff like that, not to really get into it. But I remember, I think it was Antonio and Jess were like, well, everyone's handing them gold and everything like that, but what does this little drummer boy do? Yeah, I could play the drums. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. That's the point of it all. And the whole point of the song and the whole point of that entire sequence, even in the Bible, is not what can I give to Jesus? It's how... It's not necessarily what you give to Jesus. It's a more literal sense of what can I give or show my faith. And I think the scene in The Little Drummer Boy really nails that, and that is, I'm just a poor boy too. I've got nothing really to give you, but I'll play my drum for you, and I'll play my best for you. I mean, it's literally the lyrics of the song, is that. And I think that's the whole purpose of that part of the story. You know, the greatest story ever told, the story of Jesus, blah, blah, blah. Jesus! Praise Jesus! That's what I feel like right now talking about this, and I feel kind of gross for it. But I think that's really sweet. It's not about the gold or the frankincense or the silver or whatever that you give Jesus. It's doing what you have or what you do best and what brings you the most joy in life, and then sharing it to the best of your ability with God, with faith, or with Jesus, and therefore with God, the Father. And I think that's the beauty of it. And I get it. And like, I got it almost immediately because of course I also know the song. But I'm like, that's what I think worked about it, is it's just so simple. And it's just the song playing. And it put a smile on my face. It put a nice smile on my face. And the fact that he's doing this, he's playing his best for, quote-unquote, the Son of God for the sake of his friend, you know, the sheep that got hit by the runaway Roman cart, and died, quote-unquote, or was horribly hurt. I can't remember if it died or if it was just horribly hurt. And through that, the faith revives the sheep, which that's biblical. That's the whole thing with Jesus and miracles and shit like that. Like, one of my favorite stories in the Bible, and I mean this truly, one of my favorite stories in the Bible is actually the Roman centurion who, one of his, it was either one of his soldiers or one of his slaves had gotten really sick and was dying. In fact, he was really sick and he was dying. And the Roman centurion looked at this man like his son. Like, not like a typical owner's slave or whatever. Like, I look at this guy like he's my son. And he goes to Jesus and says, I heard that you perform these miracles and everything like that, blah, 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 blah. And Jesus says, absolutely, I will go and I will go and see him. And the Roman centurion goes, no, you don't have to go see him. I am a soldier. I give orders. When I give orders, I know my soldiers will carry out my orders. You say that my servant will be healed, and I know he will be healed. And the servant is healed and stuff like that. And it goes into the whole, the theme of faith. This man has enough faith in the power of Christ, the power of God, that it does indeed heal his servant. The guy that, again, the Roman centurion looks at like a son. And what was big about that, if I remember correctly, was he was Roman. He was not an Israelite. He was not a Jew. He was Roman. And he showed that level of faith towards God, towards Jesus, in that moment, and said, I'm going to throw logic away. I'm going to throw away my personal beliefs, and I'm going to say, no, I'm that desperate. And completely reveal himself to Jesus and therefore God. And a lot of the disciples of Jesus were like, nah, why the hell? He's not one of us. And Jesus says, yes, he is. If you believe in God, if you believe in the Word of God, if you believe in me, and if you believe in the Word of God, therefore it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you came from. You are a child of God. And that all plays into this. And that's what I kind of admire about it from a story perspective of The Little Drummer Boy, is it's clearly the writer knew the story and incorporated that into the actual story of the Little Drummer Boy, which I appreciate from a story structure, because in my humble opinion, regardless if you believe in God or Jesus or if you're Jewish or whatever, if you read the stories that partake in the Bible, there's a reason why it is called the greatest story ever told. It is genuinely a fantastic story. A fantastic story with some unbelievably fantastic characters. And the reason why I know it is a fantastic story and has fantastic characters in it is because we copy it constantly in media. Regardless if we're saying we're making a religious film or not, we copy the tropes and everything. I mean, probably one of the biggest examples that I can think of that's probably really on your face is Chronicles of Narnia, the lion. It's very much so Jesus. Same with Moses, the story of Moses. That's been copied time and time and time again, aka Dances with Wolves and The Last Samurai. Sorry to go on that diatribe. I just find the topic fascinating.
No,
and I genuinely like the characterization.
Again, as someone who isn't like super religious, like it's honestly kind of nice to hear more of a religious aspect of, I mean, clearly a religious story, but like how you can relate that more in a story structure setting. So honestly, no, please, I do love hearing it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just good storytelling. It really is. It just is. And what I love about that whole part in The Little Drummer Boy 2 is that there's no sound effects, there's no dialogue, it's just the music. And I'm like, that works. That works phenomenally well. And for as crazy as the rest of it is, needlessly crazy too, with a couple of really bad songs and some pretty cheesy comedy thrown in there. Suddenly you get to that ending, and it's so restrained. And it works. And that's something too I love about these Rankin Bass specials. You look in Santa Claus Comes to Town. Santa Claus Comes to Town, they do the first Christmas tree, which is also where Jessica and Kris Kringle get married. And it's so fucking simple. There's no comedy. There's no real dialogue other than a couple of narration lines by Fred Astaire. And it's just music and visuals. And it's wonderful. It's fucking wonderful because if they don't treat us like idiots. They're like, no, you can get this. You can get this. Kids can get this.
We don't need all that exposition.
We don't need nothing but exposition explaining everything that's happening. You would understand what's happening. And I love it. I fucking love it. Like, I think it was in Nestor, too. And again, I haven't seen Nestor in a very long time, but when the mother dies, I don't think there's like a narrator there that says the mother died protecting Nestor. I think it just cuts to the next day, Nestor crying, and you see the mother covered in snow, and you just know.
Right.
And I'm like, that's good. That's good. That's why I love Batman the Animated Series so much, is they don't treat us like idiots. They don't treat kids or young adults like idiots. They don't spell everything out. They use music and they use visuals and facial expressions and stuff like that to tell the story. And that's what I love. That's the shit that I love in a lot of my stuff. Like, I also remember somebody made a short film, and I can't remember if it was you, John, or Antonio. I know Antonio was involved, but it was like The Grim Reaper is Sad or Lonely.
Yes, I did. I made 2 versions of that. Well, actually, I re-edited it after. Yes, I did.
Because I remember the version that I watched, there was dialogue. And it was like the clown was trying to cheer up death. And first off, I fucking love that concept. Like, I would love to genuinely go back and remake it, kind of a deal. Like, actually, like, put in some decent time and effort into making this. But I remember there being dialogue in it, and I do remember saying to either you or Antonio, saying, you know what, this would be so much better if there's no dialogue. Mm-hmm. And if it was just done through mannerisms and maybe not even music, just the ambience of the wind blowing of the area that they're at. And it would be doubly difficult because if I remember correctly, we don't see either of their faces.
No, we don't.
So it's got to be done, you can't use facial expressions, you have to do it through body movement. And I'm like, that would be really cool to try to do. I mean, that's one of the most difficult things I've ever had in film, and I don't think I've ever perfected it, or I've ever even really done it right. It is one of the most difficult things I think you could do in film is have an entire scene where two characters are talking to each other, but they never say a word.
I mean, isn't that pretty much that scene in Evangelion when Rey and they're just in the elevator and there's nothing.
There's nothing. And there's so much being said in that scene. Everybody makes fun of it, right? Everybody always makes fun of it. But there's so much that's being said in that one scene, in that one shot, without there anything being said. The other one is where Shinji is inside Ava Unit 01, and he's got Kaoru in his hand. And it's just one shot that I'm not kidding. I think that shot lasts for 5 minutes. And it's nothing but that one still frame with Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. I think it was Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. It was Joy, Ode to Joy, that one.
Joy, yeah.
That playing. And I'm like, that is so heavy. And I'm like,
it just cuts to black. You just see Karu's head just pop.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's perfect. That was perfect. Ano. You madman. I am religious, but I don't attend church. Yeah, that's becoming me on a regular basis. Christmas Eve and day, I attend it for sure, and Easter as well. Yeah, that's fine. It was my grandfather, who again was the greatest man I'll ever know. My grandfather said something very interesting that really hit me hard. And I've been thinking about it a lot this year because there's just so many things. I've changed a lot this year. I really have. My grandfather said something that was very interesting to me, and I'll never forget it. And he said, and I quote, you got to picture him with a cigarette in his hand and a newspaper in the other. He said, Adam, a man who is fishing, thinking about God, is closer to God than a man in a house of God thinking about fishing. And that quote has really resonated with me on a lot of things. It is just out of everything that my grandfather told me, for some reason that has stuck in my head more than anything else. So yeah. Enough about religion. Fuck that shit. I want to get to the presents.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I just want the presents.
I just want the milk and cookies. I just want to suck the milk out of the cow's tit.
Oh, shit. I remember one Christmas. No, go ahead, John.
No, Santa comes down the chimney, he sees the cookie and just sees a cow. And it's like, what am I going to do? The kid turns on the light. Drink from the fucking tit, you fat.
Yeah, Santa's like, give me those fucking titties. That's something fucking Meat Canyon would make.
Oh, 100%.
Oh my god. I want to talk about a YouTuber that like I love and hate all at once. It's him. I love him because I love how dark his shit gets and how smart some of it is. I hate him because a lot of his animations just go to the same thing.
I feel like it'd be funny for once where just like you think it's going to go dark, but it just doesn't.
It just doesn't. Oh, that'd be funny.
Yeah, where it's just like it just gets you. Oh, it doesn't, but it gets you.
Yeah,
and then it gets you again.
Yeah.
I still think my favorite one though was the recent one of like the Costco guys.
Oh yes.
Right in, yeah, and the kid gets like kidnapped because he wants like more on his like membership, and then he goes overseas picking up the little nuts.
Yeah. Oh, fucking great. Did you also see the one where it was like the old people's home and they were trying to get him to play like like racquetball or something like that? Yes. Yes, that was it. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. You know, that kind of reminds me of you saying like, no, just leave it and make it like a genuine thing. That might be even funnier than not. That's what Family Guy needs to understand. Modern Family Guy needs to understand that now. Like, it's like everything that they do has to end in a joke. And I'm like... I
feel like that's why you just watch American Dad. You watch American Dad when you just don't like Family Guy.
Yeah, when you don't like Family Guy, just watch American Dad. Even American Dad. That show, like Family Guy, that show got so cynical, I got sick of it. Like, so fucking cynical. And that's one of the things that I love about South Park. Is South Park always is cynical. Don't get me wrong. Like, they make fun of everybody and everything. But yeah, at the end, there's always this kind of like silver lining where it's like, yeah, but the boys have each other. They've got each other's backs. They're good friends. And that element of the show has never waned. And that, I think, is one of the strengths of it. Even Cartman.
Yeah.
You know. It's like that element of the show, the thing that really holds it together, and has never waned. It's like how in Family Guy, what it really needs to be is it needs to be, this is a dysfunctional family, but it is a family, and they love each other dearly. That crux of the show needed to stay, and it's never stayed.
No.
Or it did, for like the first 3 seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. They were just like, oh, we're going to fucking beat the shit out of Meg and tell how pathetic she is.
I hate what they did with Meg. I hate what they did with Meg. Nothing will ever make me hate Family Guy more than the episode where they kill Brian.
Oh, yeah.
And then what was it, like 2 episodes that followed?
Yeah, they just bring him back.
They just end up bringing him back. And like they brought in Vinny, that dog. Yeah. And I loved Vinny. I was like, okay, This is interesting. He's different from Brian. He's not just Brian 2.0, but he's not an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly Vinny is going to get along with Peter more than Brian did. Well, Brian had Stewie, you know.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, so this is going to change the dynamics a little bit. And I love, there's a moment where they acknowledge that. Where Stewie is just crying. And he's like, I really want Brian back. And Vinny just sits there and talks to him where he's like, I'm not Brian. And I'm not going to pretend to be Brian. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to care for you. I know that I'm not. It's a shockingly deep scene of Vinny saying to Stewie, look, I will love you because I'm your dog. You know? I'm your dog, and I'm going to love you. But I understand. You're not going to like me as much as Brian. I understand that, and that's perfectly fine. Because I'm not Brian. And it was a good scene because they end up hugging each other, and they come to an understanding. And I'm like, that's such a good scene. And then it ends with some joke with a squirrel or something, or some pedophile joke. And I'm like, fuck off. It totally fucking ruined it. But I remember saying what was interesting about that whole thing is that there's a part where Stewie is crying, and none other than Meg comes in and comforts Stewie. And I'm like, you know what? This would have been a really interesting change. You have Vinny come in. Vinny now is no longer close to Stewie. It now is Meg. Meg suddenly have Stewie form a newfound respect for Meg. And actually make Meg a fucking character instead of just a punching bag. And I'm like, you know what? That would have been awesome. What a way to change the dynamic and make it kind of go back to what Family Guy was. and do it with the death of a douchebag, aka Brian Griffin. And no, they then just bring him back and go back to the status fucking quo. And I'm like, way to ruin it.
I feel like we're going to jump the shark like that. Like, at least when they killed Kenny off in season 5, they waited like a whole season, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been better if you were going to do it.
Yeah.
You actually mentioned what is my favorite episode of new Family Guy. It's not my favorite episode of Family Guy, but new Family Guy it is. And it's the one where Brian and Stewie are trapped in overnight in a bank. Yeah, and I still had problems with that because why the hell did you have to make it a huge deal that Brian has to eat Stewie's shit?
That was a thing.
Oh yeah, that was a big thing in that episode. That was a huge crux of that fucking episode. Just kind of.
I'm going to be honest. My only thing with Family Guy is, like, I watch it when I work out. Like, I don't really care what they're talking about. It's really good background noise. It's Emmy award-winning background.
Yes. You're right. You're not wrong. I remember when they used to do the marathons on YouTube before YouTube really cracked down on it. I used to put them on all the time. It's great background noise. Hey, you also mentioned, wasn't there an episode where Meg was gone or something, but the family becomes even more dysfunctional and distant than ever, and they realize that making fun of Meg was the thing that kept them together? Yeah, and Meg suddenly realizes, yeah, it's the worst fucking message you could possibly give. And it's Meg realizing that because she is picked on so much, she needs to accept the fact that she's going to be the punching bag, because that's what's holding the family together. And I'm like, that is the worst fucking message I've ever seen in a cartoon ever. Ever. Is that.
And they did the same thing where it was like, what? It was like Quagmire's sister was in an abusive relationship. And I'm like, isn't Quagmire a rapist?
Yeah, actually, I love that. That's the only thing in Family Guy that I think they've done right in New Family Guy is their treatment of Quagmire.
Mm-hmm.
Quagmire it's insane that he is now the voice of reason in Family Guy. It is insane that he's become the voice of reason.
Is he now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's fucking insane. And it's fucking insane that he's now the only character in Family Guy that seems to know how to treat people right. And like he'll be kind of a skank and seedy and all that with women left and right, but like the moment he said, like, he knows that there needs to be like a change of pace, that hey, oh no, this is serious, he treats it serious, and he'll give advice and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, it's insane that you are now the only good human being on Family Guy. Like, don't even get me started what they did with Joe and Bonnie. Oh my god.
See, I'm not caught up on my Family Guy lore, so you might have to break this down.
Well, what I loved about Joe, and what was so interesting about Joe, is Joe was, of course, the handicapped cop, and, that was kind of a butt of several jokes, even when he was first introduced. Mm-hmm. But what was awesome was that never stopped him. He was still a badass cop who gave a shit about the neighborhood, who gave a shit about his job, who loved his wife, who was a bad father, but was desperately trying to make up for it. And now it's just him and Bonnie trying to kill each other left and right because of how miserable their lives are and how pathetic Joe is because he can't walk. And I'm like, fuck that. Fuck that. And it's constantly being like Bonnie wants Joe to die so she can leave him and finally have sex with somebody else. And I'm like, it is disgusting. And I hate it so much. Yeah, I hate what they did with Joe and Bonnie. I hate it.
Because I know Bonnie gave birth, right?
Bonnie finally gave birth, yes. Yes.
Yeah, because I know the baby's voiced by Patrick Stewart. That's
her inner monologue is. Yes. Her inner monologues are voiced by Patrick Stewart. Yeah. I even liked what they did with Cleveland for a while. Remember when it was Quagmire who fucked Cleveland's wife, Loretta?
Oh yeah,
his first wife.
Mm-hmm.
Like I even liked that.
Because that was like early Family Guy. Like I think it was like season 4, season 5 at least.
Yeah, that was pretty early Family Guy. And then they kind of erase it, And I was like, no, I really like that idea that Cleveland is no longer friends with Quagmire over this. And I'm like, in no way, shape, and form, in any reality at all, would Quagmire and Cleveland have remained friends.
Right.
After that it's like happened. You just,
yeah. And I assume they just like ignore continuity until the Cleveland show or whatever.
Yeah, the Cleveland show. Yeah, which sucked. Yeah. Yeah, Family Guy, my favorite Rankin Bass special.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Hey, Lois, remember when I put one foot in front of the other?
Oh, God, how would they ruin it? They would fucking ruin it.
Oh, But speaking of Rankin Bass and good animated shows, South Park did that season 3 with the Mr. Hanky's Christmas classics. Because I remember they did. Yeah. Because I know they had the parody of like the mailman guy. It was like, there was just one piece of dialogue that they did, which I just thought was funny. It's like during the middle of the song, it's about a guy, and he's just like trying to take a shit.
He's trying to take a shit.
Yeah, he's just like, and it just hangs out your sphincter, and then it finally comes out, and then it does.
I love South Park so much. But yeah, I remembered that they did the mailman, and like they gave him like the weird mouth that he has, and they also animated him just a little bit different than everybody else. And I was like, that's funny. Trey Parker's obviously a fan.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with South Park. Even when they do like their satire and parody, like they know how to do it. It's not just remember this. It's okay. Here's the material. Let's put it out front.
Oh yeah, the fucking episode where they tear apart Family Guy, the Muhammad episode.
Oh yeah, Cartoon Wars.
Cartoon Wars. I'm like, this entire thing is literally breaking down what is the nature of comedy. More than it is about tearing apart Family Guy. That's the joke part of it. The actual episode is about what makes comedy comedy. And it's unbelievably smart. And funny. As a result.
Yeah, the whole.
And I love when he meets fucking Cartman. Oh yeah. Cartman fucking meets Bart Simpson. And Bart says, yeah, I did this. And then fucking Cartman goes, yeah, I killed a guy's parents, turned them into chili, and made him eat it in front of everybody. And then Bart Simpson goes, yeah, you're too hardcore for me, man, and just walks away. I'm like, that's really funny. That's really fucking funny. I also love the stories of Matt Stone and Trey Parker got, the love letters they got from the creators of The Simpsons and King of the Hill because of that episode. They fucking got letters being like, thank you for stomping all over Family Guy, because I guess they all hate Family Guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's just generic bullshit.
Yeah, because I know Matt Stone and Trey Parker have made it no secret that they think Family Guy is one of the laziest shows ever. And I agree. Or at least modern Family Guy is unbelievably lazy. And they apparently got a giant bouquet of roses from the King of the Hill guy, Mike Judge, and a small little letter on it that said, you're doing the Lord's work, Mike Judge. And I'm like, that is fucking hysterical. The audio commentary for that episode is absolutely hysterical to listen to.
Really? I don't think I've ever actually listened to any of the South Park commentaries.
Some of them are bad because what ends up happening is they don't really talk about the episode. They talk about the episode for 5 minutes and then they just go silent.
Yeah.
They're mini commentaries, and I'm like, that sucks. No, the one for Streaming Wars was good. Or not Streaming Wars, though that was also really good.
I never seen.
They were good. Streaming Wars was really fucking good. They brought back PP, the guy who wants to. They brought him back.
Did you see the Ozempic one?
I didn't really care for that one. It was funny. It was really funny. Don't get me wrong, but I was like, I preferred the other special. No, I'm sorry. I liked the Ozempic one a lot. It was the one that they were making fun of Mr. Beast and his energy drink.
Oh, gotcha.
That I did not care for. That was the one that I remember being like, it was funny, but meh.
Yeah. The only good episode I think I remember that's not banned in China was the Worldwide Privacy Tour. Where it's like, wait, want privacy? They're all just going around the world. It's like what the
that was King Harry or Prince Harry or Henry or whatever the fuck, and his wife being like, we just want to be left alone, but yet they're constantly seeking attention every chance that they get. Oh, yes. They were pissed.
Yeah.
At that episode, and I'm like, yeah.
They still make controversy. I love it. I
love it. They're not afraid to piss people off. And that's what I think makes South Park so good, is that no topic is taboo to them. And that's what I think makes it work so well. They just don't care. You know?
I mean, that was like, what, 200 and 201? The episodes that got banned?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They said the worst they've ever had, though, was the Scientology episode.
Oh, yeah, because they were actually stalked.
Yeah. Yeah, they said it was actually bad, and they actually said that's why in that episode, if you watch the end credits, the only people that actually get credit are Matt Stone and Trey Parker. Everyone else is just fake names or whatever that keep popping up left and right, because they wanted to protect the crew in case shit really got bad.
Right.
Which good for them.
Yeah.
You know, props to them. They're not complete assholes. Did you watch their live concert that they did?
I did.
It was great.
Yes,
it was so great. That fucking opening song that they did as like an overture to it, which was clearly making fun of that Great Gig in the Sky by Pink Floyd, was awesome.
Then they go right to the Ballad of Uncle Fucka.
Yeah. And I love how the transition to all of that and nothing but them farting into the microphones left and right. And I'm like, this is South Park. This is fucking South Park. This is fantastic. What was that episode of South Park 2 where they finally made an episode for the ladies, where the main characters were the moms, and it was all about fecal transplants to take care of the bacteria in your gut.
Yeah. Like
and they just shit all over the place, and I'm like, this is South Park. This is classic South Park right here. Did Max Stone and Trey Parker go to Columbine High School? I don't think they did.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they didn't.
Yeah, the only thing was Matt Stone lived in Boulder, the same district as where Columbine was, but he didn't go to Columbine.
Columbine, yeah. Plus, when that was all going down, they were too busy making Cannibal the Musical, which is fantastic, by the way. Cannibal the Musical is the best student film I've ever seen.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's so funny. It is so fucking funny. I love that the Native Americans in that are Japanese.
Well, Japanese.
That is so fucking funny to me.
See, I originally, when I watched it, I didn't like it. It took me like 2 or 3 to be like,
really?
I absolutely appreciate it. But yeah, wasn't a fan at first.
I remember falling in love with the movie the moment they meet that prospector that has the missing eye.
Oh, one eye. Yep.
Yeah. And he's just like, you stirred up my eye! And every time they did that, like, it would spray pus all over them. And that had me laughing so hard. I'm like, I love this. This is fantastic. I'm not gonna lie, I like Cannibal the Musical more than I like Orgasmo.
Really?
And I like Orgasmo.
We used to quote that a lot in college. Specifically the fat lady scene.
The fucking T-Rex.
Oh
hey, fellas. Oh my god.
We're gonna kick your butt. Hey now.
Yeah, you and I used to fucking quote that left and right. I just love, she rounds that corner and all of a sudden it's the Trey Parker fat guy voice. And I'm like, that's so funny. Hi, fellas, I'm ready to fuck.
Fuck. Oh my god.
You want me on top?
I still think my favorite thing is just like how, what's it like, before she even turns the corner, like the camera shakes. Like,
yeah. Because her nickname was T-Rex.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And fucking A. I love how when she's fucking him, I just love how she's like, oh, you're making me so hot now. Oh, you make me so hot. I'm like, oh, so good.
That scene the most is when it goes right into Trey Parker and his wife in the movie.
Yes.
And Oh My Darling Clementine's playing. And they're all doing all this Mormon stuff. And then when they're at the choir, no, it's not the choir, it's what? He's on the floor, like in the grass, rolling around, and his face just changes and
yeah.
He's just being fucked.
And just being fucked by T-Rex. Yeah, that's the funniest thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
It was really fucking good. And me saying that I prefer Cannibal the Musical is not saying I don't like Orgasmo. I think Orgasmo is fucking hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
I think their best movie, though, is Team America.
I would agree with that.
And I mean of their non-South Park stuff. Team America holds up so well to this day. The only thing that doesn't hold up in Team America is the fact that it's Kim Jong-il instead of Kim Jong-un. That's it.
You know, another thing I found weird about Team America was that the Matt Damon puppet, the reason why he kept saying his name, Matt Damon, like he's a Pokemon, was because when they commissioned the puppet, it wasn't supposed to look like that.
It just kind of looked retarded.
Yeah, and they were just like, we're just going to have to say his name.
I also love the behind-the-scenes story where they had the guys make the puppets, and the puppets were really articulate and really detailed. And once they showed them to Matt Stone and Trey Parker, they're like, it's too good. No, we don't want that. We literally want the Jerry Anderson style puppets. And so they had to they ditched those puppets and made more crude ones, and I'm like, that is awesome. And I love the fact that the film opens with a puppet show.
Yes.
And they specifically did that to freak out the executives. Because they're like, did we really spend all this money on puppets that literally just do this? And then it goes out and reveals this entire world. And they're like, oh, thank God. The reason why they haven't made more movies is because apparently they're unbelievably difficult to work with because they just refuse to take studio notes. They're like, no, we're not doing that. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all because they really wanted to make South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut a PG-13 movie. And they were like, no. Yes. And did you hear about the trailer?
Oh, that didn't like Matt Stone like break the actual reel or the VHS of it?
No, what they did was they got shown the reel of it and they stole the reel, put it in the trunk of their car, and then drove back to their studio in Colorado because they said the trailer was so bad that they did not want it to air. And so the studio was forced to air the one that they cut together, which was the right decision. Because the one that they cut together is like really dramatic and really like presenting it as like this dark, gritty movie that's coming up, but it's fucking South Park. But the trailer that the studio wanted to release made it look like an Adam Sandler movie.
Really?
Yeah, it was, and they said it had that narrator in it and everything, where it's like, this summer, check out Eric Cartman on The Greatest Adventure, and I'm like, oh god.
This summer, Rob Schneider is a character. Derp.
So good. I love them. Well, John.
Yes.
We've been talking for 2.5 hours.
Yes, we have.
I'd say it's about time we wrap this shindig up.
All right.
John, Merry fucking Christmas to you, man. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Likewise, brother.
Yeah, this is a good time. Well, John, if you could pimp yourself out for a little bit, that'd be fantastic. Now's the time for you to do so. Pimp out anything you're working on, any projects, stuff like that. Now's the time for you to do so.
All right. So, If anyone wants to follow me, please follow me on YouTube at Neon Dream Studio. That's where I upload a lot of my animations, a lot of my next films. I'm currently working on something. I'm working on another episode of Loch Ness Detective Agency. So that should be coming out probably in the next few months, maybe less than that. I also, going back to what I was saying, so for Trauma, I already uploaded a Thanksgiving special on their channel, which you should also check out because that was fully animated by me. So if you want to support both, that'd be absolutely fantastic.
I did not know you did that. I'm gonna go check that out as soon as we're done here. It's just on the Trauma YouTube page, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. As for me, I don't really need to pimp myself out because this is my channel. Chances are you already know my stuff. All my social media is available in the description below. You can visit my website, adamandproductions.com. There's a lot of stuff there that isn't publicly available on my YouTube channel as well. I don't really have any projects going on right now other than I'm working on a book that I'm trying to kind of get done, and I'm working on a new big documentary. And I mean a big documentary. It's might be bigger than my Bridget Remagen documentary that was about 2 hours long when put together. I hope so anyways, because I'm obsessed with this story now. And when I go down a rabbit hole, it never ends well for me. Anyways, John, thank you so much for joining. And again, I really, truly wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, my friend.
And again, thank you for having me on, and Merry Christmas to you, your family. This has been a wonderful experience as always, and hopefully let's do this again soon.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, I really try to do these once a month, these ANP things once a month. Usually they go up on the first Sunday or second Sunday of the month is when I try to do these type of shows. And again, thank you so much for joining. I know this is kind of last second, but I'm very glad that you were here and you were able to join, and I'm very grateful for that. As for everybody else, I really hope you also have a Merry Christmas, and if you don't celebrate Christmas, just have happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, whatever the hell it is you celebrate. Happy fucking holidays to you. And, of course, also a happy new year as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, 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 very much for joining. And until next time, well, take care.